gone through, or you are probably trying some test cases to execute over there in the e-commerce website. And if you are facing the challenges that you can discuss on it. If not, then we'll start with TestNG today, and then I will show that to you the page object model example. But before that, we can discuss on it. So any doubt or query, team, or any topic where you are struggling with to handle the situation? Okay, let me send the links. All right. So let's get started with like what if I want to handle the situation by the another unit testing framework, that is TestNG. So earlier we already started the very basic example where we have created a single classes, and then we have executed it by TestNG. Now what is the situation here is, if it's of a JUnit, then ideally we can create a test shoot easily. But if it's of a TestNG, then we cannot create a test shoot. Why? Because if you will see in the source folder, whenever we are creating a specific package and under that we are creating a class, you will able to see the option new other, and under this TestNG, let's say for JUnit we can able to see the option test case to create and test shoot to create. But for TestNG, we are not having the situation where we are able to see the option to create as a test shoot, right? We are only having the class to create, that is somewhat being a one test case for me. So there will be a case where what if I'm having one single test case to execute, then ideally I will just notify a before method and after method, and same like the JUnit, I will do a right click. I'll go with runners and it will show the option to me of TestNG test. But there will be a situation where there are more than one test cases and I want to execute in a test shoot. Means a collection of test cases that I want to bunch, like run it as a bunch in a sequential way. Then how I can do it? So for that we have to adopt one another approach. It is observed that whenever you are running any TestNG test cases, then ideally automatically it will able to see this test dash output folder created. Okay, so that is one thing. Let's say over here I'm just showing you that here also, as earlier we have created one of the TestNG demo where we have just printed each and every hierarchy, the way by which the test case is going to be executed. We are also able to see then another folder named test-output. So to create a test shoot and to run a scenario of more than one test case as a one single test shoot, then over here in this test.output we have to create one new file. So let's say I have to notify new, then over here I will go with other, and then I will have to create a file. So file option is already available in the list. Let's say right click and this file option. Once we'll click on file, you will be able to see this file name option available. This steps we need to follow whenever we are trying to create our scenario to run it as a test shoot. Okay, so I'm doing the same here. Like I have just done a right click onto this test-output folder, and then I have selected the file option where I have to use testng.xml file to create. So this will be the file, that is testng.xml, which is not available predefined, which we need to create under this test.output hierarchy. I'll do finish, and under that file it will show a predefined hierarchy where I can just design the XML code. Under the source we need to put XML script, that is nothing but the extensible markup language. In the HTML we are having the predefined tags, whereas in the XML we will design our own custom tags. So let's see how exactly I can do. So I'm just trying to map the same testng.xml thing in one of the real-time situation of our TestNG class, which is actually designing the script in context of Selenium. So let's go back to the same TestNG1 project where earlier we have created one single class to execute, where as it was only one single class, so we do not have any problem to run it as a TestNG test class or test case. But now the situation is that I have created another package. And under that another package I can able to see that I am having two different test cases that I need to execute in a sequential way, or I can say together, right? Rather executing one single test case at a one time, we want to execute together. So what I have done is I have created one base class first, where under the base class I have just declared the global declaration, same like the earlier question was raised, like what should be the ideal declaration if I just have some certain things common. So I have done that. That is, we have notified our driver separately with the new Firefox driver. As we want to design the shoot, and on every test case we just preferring to handle this browser and URL to initiate. That is why I have notified here before shoot, which is going to be called on every test case or a method to call, where I'm just doing the most general declaration of maximizing it, giving the weights, opening up the URL, and then here we are just putting the quit. Once all the test cases and the method is going to be executed, then after I can see that in the class 1 will not put any before or after related annotations regarding the environment setup. It is only containing that test, where I am just getting the title of whatever the URL that is opened up. So ideally consider it as one of the Selenium logic or whatever the script that you want to design as a test case. It can be, let's say, login. So whatever you will notify over here, that will be your login scenario. We are getting the title, we are printing the title over here, and also I'm getting the directory. A directory where I'm actually working, a system directory. We are getting the current class name, and we are getting the name of that class as well. And then whatever the class name we are having, we are printing that with the method name. The same way in the class 2, consider it as a test case 2, I have created a separate test case where also some other URLs get opened up than the earlier one, for which also we are getting the title, for which also we are just containing the user directory from where we are working, a class name, that is class 2 in my case, the class name is. But if you'll observe, for both the classes, my dependency is there onto the before and the after. So for both, I have to just extend whatever the methods that I have notified. So I'm inheriting it, so that is why I'm putting the extends keyword. The package name, that is TestNG1 pack, and whatever the class name that we'll have, that is base class 1. Right, so we are just trying to inheriting the base class 1 before shoot and the after shoot just before calling it. So if I'll just run this single class only, definitely it will gonna be executed with the help of before shoot, at the test, and after shoot. So I'm running the single test case now. But the situation that I can see is, what if I want to run both the test cases together as a test shoot, or whatever the number of test cases that I have. So just let's complete the execution of this single test case first, and then we'll see what result we are getting. But as I suggested that we are only targeting one single test case to execute right now. And if we will run it, and we can able to see the execution results here, that we are getting the title as only testing text box, and we are getting the method with the hierarchy. This is my workspace hierarchy under which I'm working. So it get passed, but it has get executed only class 2. I just want to execute class 1, class 2, both the test cases. So in that case, without fail, as I suggested, under the test output folder, you have to do a right click with new, go with file, and then we have to create testng.xml file. Right now in my context, the testng.xml file is already there. So that is why I have explained you over there in the another project to create. But whenever you want to run it as a test shoot, without fail, create an testng.xml file. We'll do finish, and what we'll see under the testng.xml file, we have to write a couple of code, by which means we can run the same test cases together as a shoot. What sort of? So if you will see here, there are a bunch of XML code I have written here, but out of that, first we'll use this explanation mark dash dash with this this notifications are showing that that piece of code is get commented. So this line is get commented. And there is the same XML file. I have just wrote some other examples of XML as well, but right now we are targeting only two test cases to run it together. So if you will see, the shoot is an XML tag. The name, it's up to you, like whatever the name you want to give. Similarly, test is an XML tag that I have defined, and the name whatever you want to give. Under the classes tag, without fail, we need to notify the package name dot class name. In my case, my package name is testng1pack dot class 1. So that is the class name that I want to execute, and similarly the other class or whatever the bunch of classes that we have, we can attempt it. Okay, so what I can do is, once you will just save this as an XML, you have to do it right click onto the testng.xml file, go with the run as option, and over here only you will able to see the testng shoot option. Else you will not able to run the situation of more than one test cases together as a shoot. So if I'll click on testng shoot, now it will run it as a shoot. So let's see the results. So first it is processing the first test case and the other one. And yes, if I will see, it has completed the both test cases execution over here, where on Eclipse I can able to see the first is for first test case, and this one is for second test case. And also over here we can able to see the hierarchy after completing it. And I'm just recording this result somewhere, where both test cases are executed under the one shoot, under the one test, by combining two classes. So if you will see here, this was the test 1, this is my method, right, and put together we are having only one shoot where we have executed it. Now what if I'll just slightly change the XML file? So the same XML file, now I'm changing it with a separate classes to execute. So let's see. So if you will see here, earlier the shoot was 1 and the test is also 1, whereas now we are just designing the shoot as 1, but the tests are separate. See, test, then we are closing the test, and under that we are calling one class. Then another test, we are closing the test, and then we are calling the other class. And now if I'll run this, let's see the results. So again the TestNG.xml, click on it, do right click, go with run as option, TestNG should. And yes, it has completed the execution, and now if I'll just compare the hierarchy of the execution of this current one, it will gonna be quite different than the earlier one. See, where I can see that now we are having two tests. Under that separately we are executing each and every class. Clear? And after querying these two examples of like what if we are having the test shoot to design into the TestNG, then how we can do it. If not, then I will introduce another annotation by which means we can drive the data not by Excel but with the annotation itself of TestNG name data provider. But let me know once you are okay with this one.
Sir, sorry, can you show the second one again, please? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
What was the result for that?
This results. Okay, you want to compare the results side by side?
No, just show me the result of the second run, the last run, what we did.
Yeah, we have just separated the hierarchy. Earlier, the test was one under that one single test we are running the both classes, but now I have just separated the both tests for individual use, like this way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the another annotation that we have that is named as data provider. The data provider annotation is available in the TestNG, which help us to feed a certain data in our scenario. So whenever there will be a small set of data that you want to pass it in your scenario, then ideally we can use this data provider annotation. Rather using some another Excel files or something where we have to depend on to the APIs like JXL and Apache PUI, the data provider itself can help us to do the data driven without actually depending on to the Excel file or something. How? So usually consider a case that I'm having one form. Let me show that thing manually first, like what exactly we want to do. So I'm having one of the page login.html where I'm having this username and the password. So whatever the user ID and the password I will apply, and then I will do login. That specific user ID and the password is going to be passed over here. And whatever the user ID and the password that is going to be passed over here, I just want to capture that from the alert, and I want to store it and print it on a console. So it's quite simple scenario that every time whatever the user ID and the password that I am passing over here, that let's not make it hard coded. Instead, I want to just take it from some another resource to make it parameterized with a bunch of username and the password pair. So usually we prefer to attempt it by JXL or Apache PUI, but if it's of a TestNG annotation and though we want to do, then let's see how exactly we can do it. So first of all, I have designed a before test and the after test where whatever the generalized declaration that we need to require, those I am notifying, maximizing the window, giving the weights and opening up the URL, right? And then this one is for quitting the browser. Just at very bottom we are notifying @test, which is actually the logic. Under this @test, just keep this part whatever right now you can able to see, that is data provider equal to. I will let you know when to map this data provider thing, but usually we write as an @test. Okay, and then we are creating one method with the two arguments, same like we are doing in the library framework, where we are trying to method, or like we are trying to create a method which should be quite being reusable. So every time as I need to take the data for my username and the password, so that is why I'm just parameterizing it rather than making it hard coded. That is string user ID and string password. We are clearing the text boxes of user ID and the password. The only reason is that once the user ID and the password is going to be available over there on a second attempt, if the user ID and the password will be already there, let's clear those first and enter the new boundary, or I can say then after it will add the another set of data. So this is iterative. I can see that no loop is there, but I want to make it iterative to take it every pair of whatever we mention in the data provider annotation. We are clicking onto the login button, and every time we are getting the alert, same I have mentioned into the manual case, that we have to switch on to that alert, and whatever the alert message that we'll get, we are storing into this variable. We are accepting that alert and we are printing that alert message on a console. So if I'll say what additional we need to do if I want to feed the data into that scenario. So we are having the another annotation available in the TestNG named @data provider, which allow us to feed some certain data, because ideally the Excel is nothing but the two-dimension row and the column thing. Similarly, whatever the two-dimension array I will design, that is also a collection of row and the column set of data. So I have created one array that I need to pass it as a method login credentials. I have just done a memory initialization by new keyword in my array of 4 cross 2, user ID 1, password 1. So first set of pair. Similarly, whatever the set of pair that we'll have, I have passed it over here. We are returning the same return type of whatever the credential that we have mentioned. Now, we need to map this method whatever you have created. Without mapping it, it will not take it iteratively in my @test. So whatever the method name that you are notifying here, the same we have to pass over here with the data provider. You cannot change this data provider with capital D or any other name. Ideally, it will be the same the way by which you are using the annotations. So you can see here that it is not user defined. We have to make it the same, the data provider equal to. But yeah, the name, whatever you have mentioned under the data provider annotation, the same name we need to pass it over here. And now if I'll run this, every time it will take the separate set of credentials. It will just try to store the message from the alert, and then it will print on a console. Let's see. And now if I'll see onto the Eclipse, under the results, we will able to see 4 attempts of that alert. And on TestNG execution also we can able to see those over here. In case if you want to see it in the HTML way, we can just simply launch index.html available over here. Where somewhat not in a good GUI, but still we can able to see like this way. So in case if you want to run it as a shoot, we can also run it as a shoot. You can just parallelly notify the specific XML file over there. Let's see in my case, as it's only one single class, but though if in case I want to run it as a shoot, I have to notify shoot name, test name, and the class name. But as that was only one single class, so I was directly executing it from there. But in case later on if you want to run as a shoot, you have to notify like this way. So just take a look onto the data provider declaration and then let me know if you have any query doubt or query, please. All right. Moving further, the another example that we use, like what if I'm having one of this scenario and then I want to run the same scenario parallelly. Means we can somewhat say it like one test case, I want to check it on a variety of browsers at the same time, parallelly, not one by one. So in that case, we can use parameters. How parameters will help us? So whatever the scenario that I want to iterate again and again, I will try to parameterize by some of the TestNG.xml file for more than the browsers whatever I want to attempt. So first of all, I'm just showing you like what exactly we are trying here. So I have designed two tests. There will not be any before because the browser environment setup that we are in a plan to do it by the parameters annotations. So you will not able to see any declaration which is gonna be there with the parameters. So let me show that to you. So if we'll take a look in one of the example where I am having two scenarios to perform simultaneously in one of the two different browsers. The one is Chrome and the another one is Firefox at the same time. And what I am observing is I just want to parameterize by some another XML file. So that is why in the before class there will not be any declaration. Over here if you will see I am having two operations that I need to reiterate in both the browsers. That is @test where one method is of verify title where we are getting the title from one of the page. We are just comparing with our expected versus actual. So this is the assertion statement that we are using, by which means we are comparing our expected versus actual. Then after, the verify message is there, where again I am having another method where I'm just trying to grab the alert message and we are trying to verify that on every time we are getting the correct alert message or not, right? Once it's done, we are notifying alert is fine in case the alert is fine. Then till now I doubt in the test. Any query or questions? Okay, so once this both test is done, what exactly I am doing here? I have notified another annotation name parameters, where I am notifying one parameter that needs to be parameterized while calling the browser, named browser. This is Just a user defined parameter. Whatever the name that you want to give, you can give here. I've given the condition. I will show that to you how it works with the XML file, but over here I've given the condition like if it's with the FFX keyword, then call Firefox. If it's of Chrome, then call Chrome browser. As we know that for Chrome, we have to notify system.setProperty, the way by which uh, we can initiate the Chrome browser, the drivers of Chrome. Now, if I'll just take a look onto the XML part, we'll define one of the XML tag of parameters, by which means we'll try to control the execution of browsers to initiate. I'm commenting the other piece of code. And over here, if you will see, this how we can map the parameter thing. Whatever the parameter name that you have given over there, the same parameter name we have to pass it over here as a name equal to browser. And we'll notify the value, that is FFX or either the Chrome. That is why in the condition where I'm just notifying it, if I notified equals. So in case if your FFX will be in a smaller case, though it will not match and it will not able to initiate your browser. So make sure that it is not equals ignore case, it is equals. So you have to notify the same exact keyword to map to initiate the browser. And now to run, we'll go with testng.xml file. I'll do right click. I'll go with run as testng shoot option. And once I'll run it, let's see how exactly it is initiating the browsers. So for Chrome is faster than the uh, Firefox. So first you will be able to see the Chrome get initiated and also the Firefox window then after. I am closing the unnecessary Firefox window which is not of related with this scenario. First it has initiated the Chrome and quickly also the Firefox is get initiated as well. So both are actually executed simultaneously and both are executing the same scenario at the same time to verify that what exactly the results we are getting from browser to browser. And once both is gonna be done, we'll able to see the results over here. So it's doing something in Chrome and then after it is doing something in the Firefox. And I can see this for Firefox, alert is fine, title is fine. For Chrome also, alert is fine, title is fine. This is how we can see the results for browsers. Right. So just take a look onto the XML file and also let me just try to copy somewhere the parameters code that you can just compare it later on. Let me know once you are done with this. Alright, so that was about few of the other annotations which are not available there in JUnit, and then we are taking the level specifically in the TestNG. Now moving further, the another topic on which we can discuss is what if I want to design the modular framework and I want to just make my scripting more generalized. I can say more of a class based. So far right now what we are doing is we are trying to use the predefined classes and the methods, and then we are trying to just call it again and again. So to overcome these challenges, we are having some another structure available, that is POM. Somewhat people say it as modular framework, or a few of the people say it as page object model. So we are just going through the understanding of it today, and then we'll implement tomorrow. And after completing the page object model, we'll also see the log4j. So that is the plan for tomorrow. So first of all, we are understanding why POM. So consider a case that you have started doing the UI automation in the WebDriver. Definitely it's not a tough task, though, if you will observe that we are having the predefined methods and the classes available. Like we just have to find the element, and whatever the appropriate methods that we have, we are using it. Okay. Now the main problem that we'll observe here is the more the test cases are getting heavier and heavier, we are having the more time to fix those problems. Consider a case that you are having 10 different scripts which are using same page element, means locations of that specific form or something. So with any change in that element, we just have to forcefully change all those 10 scripts, which is somewhat time consuming, or sometimes it's also causing the error prone. So the normal structure will looks like this way, where if it's not a POM, if your script is not of a POM structure, it will looks like this way, where you will have some certain class A. We are trying to locate our web elements, we are creating the methods, we are combining it with the predefined Selenium WebDriver methods, and then we are just designing a small methods to perform. So this is right now whatever the current structure that we are following, that is not of a POM structure, because the web element method is totally like onto the test methods. Rather, we'll create a separate test methods as a class B. Earlier, under the same class, we are trying to attempt the test methods. Now, I will try to create a separate class B where I will generalize my locations, I will generalize my URLs, I will try to find out the most common things or web objects which requires to have a very less modification in the script, and then I will map the scenario. So what are the benefit we'll get if I will implement my structure now nodes in the POM. So somewhat we are creating the object repository, same like we are having in the QTP. If someone is quite familiar with the QTP, QTP is also having its own predefined object repository, where whatever the predefined elements and the web objects will have, or the Windows objects will have, we are storing into that location repository. So we are trying to create that similar one in the page object model. Under this model, for each page we'll have a corresponding page class. So there will not be a trouble where if a specific location is not going to be available, or if it's get modified, then we just have to directly approach that page class, rather physically going on to the 10 or 20s of script to modify it. This page class will find the web elements of that web page, and we'll have the methods over there that we can also perform. The name of the method should be given as per the task. Let's say if a loader is waiting for payment gateway, then ideally we can notify the method name like wait for payment screen display. So it seems more interesting and more understandable, rather just putting us explicit wait in the existing script that we usually do right now. Advantages of POM is page object pattern says operations and the flows in the UI should be separated from verification. So let's say right now you are verifying the title. Consider a case that title is get changed. So you have to physically go into the script and you have to modify the title to verify. Let's keep it separate in the util files or separate page object files where from we can maintain this thing. The second benefit is we will have the object repository created which is independent of the test cases. So whenever required we can call it. Even we can integrate the same page object model with the test and the JUnit. Code becomes less. Why? Because we are declaring in a generalized way. We are optimizing it. We are optimizing the methods, classes. Methods get more realistic names. Let's say go to home page, wait for payment screen display. So those are more realistic method names rather than the test method, login, registration, and all those. How to implement the POM? Yeah, that will be the task of tomorrow. But today, what you guys have to do? Just go with the TestNG stuff. Complete that way, like e-commerce task, and just come up with the doubts. Let's keep it some buffer of 15 minutes of today's session where spend that 15 minutes time into that uh, e-commerce task to complete or whatever the progress you will have. And then tomorrow we'll see this POM example that is already designed here, where I will show that what is the page factory and what do you mean by page. So what is the general structure that we have? So normal POM structure versus actual POM structure, and then on a basis we'll implement the page object repository as well. Once you are done with the TestNG practice, let me know so that I will give you the banking domain where you have to also attempt the TestNG related task. So that like you are performing the same and we are both on same tracks. Any doubt or query so far in today's session in the TestNG that we have talked?
No, Prasad.
So hope that page object model will be seems more interesting at around, because ideally we are trying to define the frameworks purely in such a way that physically we do not have to go onto the location to change and all those. Let's make it generalized. So people say it as modular. So today we have just gone through the concept and tomorrow we are in a plan to implement it. But yeah, make sure that with that you are also going okay with that keyword, hybrid, data. So case study is there with you. Also, if TestNG is done, I will give you the banking domain project to automate, where you will attempt this data provider and all similar concepts. Clear?
Yep.
All right, go ahead. All the best.